Okay, I think we're recording. Amazing. We are live.
Hello. Really live? I hope it's not
Hello.
live.
No, no, it's not
Good.
live. We'll edit it later. It's
Good.
not. Even if it's live, nobody's watching. Podcast in the dark. Oh, this can be a good name for a podcast. Podcast in the dark.
Truths in the dark.
Oh, truth in the dark. I
I
like
like
it.
it.
The dark truths of the tech
No,
industry.
that's very obvious. Truths in the dark.
It's a good one. Let's put it on the list. Okay, so I guess we'll start presenting ourselves, who we are, and why you should listen to us. I mean, obviously, you should listen to us because we're very handsome, but other than that, we're
Speak for
also
yourself, huh?
experienced IT professionals.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's start by introducing Ilya. Who are you, Ilya?
So I worked for about 10 years in the Israeli startup industry. Being honest, I didn't enjoy that very much. I quit it after 10 years and I started teaching people at first, and then I started mentoring people. I think it's more coaching than mentoring, but basically, I realized that people trying to get into tech and trying to learn coding having the same problems that I did when I got into the industry, and this is what I've been doing since.
And what is.
And I'm
Yeah.
also a photographer, as you can see from all the. Oh, you can not really see it, but you cannot see all my fancy photo equipment. Yeah, that is it. Dayan, what
I
about
wanted
you?
to ask you first, what
Tell
is
us
the
about
difference for
yourself.
you between coaching and mentoring?
So, actually, I called it mentoring for a long time just because I thought just helping people is mentoring them. But turns out mentoring is I've made this path and I can show you how to get to this place where I am if you follow my footsteps. Um, And coaching is helping people to find their own
Yes.
path. It's more focused on asking questions, it's more focused on them figuring out what they want. And I'm just kind of helping them to discover themselves and what they're good at and what they want and what their end goals without saying, oh, where I am is where you should be. Most likely, where I am is not where you should be. So,
Yeah, well, thank you for that explanation because with that in mind, I can say that I'm more a mentor than a coach. But going a bit back, I've been 20 years in the IT. Started as a junior engineer, small IT jobs back then, and that was in Serbia a long time ago. And then I slowly progressed, growing my career to more and more senior roles, more impactful and more serious projects. And I think one of my last clients was the most important ones. That was Upwork. Uh, well, first I worked on the platform Upwork as a freelancer, and then eventually they noticed me and they wanted me to work for them directly. And over there, I also became a team lead, managing a couple of different teams of different sizes. We launched several very impactful projects, and a big part of my job was this mentoring thing as well. So it was very obvious that all the engineers in my team, they wanted to become like me, if you want to say that way. They wanted to become a senior and more senior and even technical leaders, tech leads, and that's what I was doing. I was mentoring them how to grow in their career as well. And just as a proof of concept, when I was leaving Upwork, somebody needed to replace me. So instead of hiring somebody else or looking for other places to replace me, I chose one member from my team, and for a few months I put specific attention to mentoring him how to come into my place.
nice. I think this is what a lot of companies do. They prefer to level up somebody on the inside if they're smart about
Yes,
it,
yeah, exactly. If they're smart
rather
about it, yeah,
than
that's a good
hiring.
point. Yeah.
We might get to the topic of companies not being smart about how they handle their hires, their developers, their team. There is a lot of that
Yeah,
going
yeah, yeah.
around. So maybe this should be a whole podcast topic on its
Yeah, I have a
own.
lot of stories about that end of the spectrum as well. But I suggest today we focus on the good part. My experience in Upwork was definitely a good one, and I'm actually thinking to go back now. I I have different other options, but I'm also considering going back and working again for Upwork.
Nice, nice. You said high impact projects. Can you give an example? Like what kind of projects are
Hmm.
high impact and
Okay,
what is
yeah,
that?
sure. So I can give you like two diverse examples. One was existing service that we had. Well, I can go in details, but let's say it's about registration. Obviously, before me, people could register on the website and they could do it the same after I was there. But metrics were significantly improved just by doing a very different architecture and improving the service itself. I don't want to go too much into technical details, but I'm going to just say the latency went down significantly, while at the same time the costs of our cloud, we were using everything on the cloud on AWS, the costs went down tenfold or something, while the latency of the service itself went down with significant change in architecture. So that's one example where my
Nice.
team and myself, we improved the existing features, saving money and improving the response times of the website. And on the other hand, we did completely new projects where we have some project idea, and then we started from scratch, and we try even to find market fit. It's not really obvious what we need to do from the beginning. So together with product managers, user research, and other stakeholders, we try to find the best way to push this thing forward. And one good example, one successful example, is direct contracts in Upwork. If you go to the top menu in Upwork, you will see direct contracts, a new paper plain icon. That's something that my
I
team did.
haven't, but I actually used Upwork just a few days ago for the board game we're
Mm-hmm,
developing.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been a nice
Okay,
experience.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
Cool. I wanted to ask you something, but it escaped my mind. Oh, yes. So you basically said that you were given the freedom to kind of run your own startup inside of Upwork, to come up with your own projects that will improve what Upwork
Okay,
does.
that's maybe a bit too far. I wasn't the only one who was giving the freedom. It was my team who had that freedom, and that included also the product manager and the designer, and depending on the project type, some other stakeholders. Like we had another slightly bigger project which needed to include legal, compliance, and finance as well, because there were some legal technicalities that I don't want to get into now, but we need to have all of them, all of their opinions together, and all of us together would come with ideas and a project roadmap how to go on the market.
I think this is really cool. Um, so we kind of had a disagreement on what juniors should be trained for, and my approach is much wider. I want them to work on their own product, and your approach is more the juniors need to be managed and put to work and know how to solve specific problems. And from what you describe, it sounds like knowing how to handle business requirements and even coming up with business ideas would be extremely beneficial with the engineers that worked in your team,
No, of
right?
course it's beneficial, just it's very hard. It's very next level. I wouldn't be able to do that 20 years ago when I started. Or if I would, now I would be probably Elon Musk or something. So it's a very different level of capacity and skills that you need to execute that, to lead a team, to go and invent and find the market fit for your product. And in our case, we had a kind of sponsor immediately funding from Upwork directly. So we were spending maybe a million or two per year on our projects altogether, while Upwork is a multi-billion company, so it was kind of easy to get the funding. Um, but if you do it on your own and looking for investors as well, I can only imagine how hard that can be. And if you're just starting as a junior, junior is a significant keyword here. So uh,
Right.
I would say focus on one thing, do that well. When you nail that, move to the next thing, and then so on.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So now let's get to the questions part. So we basically prepared a bunch of questions to ask each other and share our unpopular or maybe some popular opinions about stuff.
Yeah.
So, Dayan, my question for you, and this is again something we've talked a little bit about in the past, AI and coding.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think all developers will be obsolete in the next 5 or 10 years? Is there even a reason to get into tech now with all the AI happening? Like, let's say today I decide to become a developer if I had zero background. Like, would you even recommend
Yeah,
that?
definitely. And I would say with the AI threat, I would recommend do it as soon as possible because you said 5 to 10 years. I think that's a very important distinction because in 10 years you can make significant progress and make a lot of impact and obviously money and move out of the layers that will be replaced by AI. If you wait 1 2 years out of maybe seven that you have, that's already a huge chunk of time that you lost. So AI threat is there, but it's not so imminent. So there is still time. But at the same time, I want to say get into this as soon as possible and as fast as possible. So that means invest in yourself. Don't just go and slowly work in some government company, getting tasks here and there and taking it easy, working 5 hours per week or something, which I was guilty of at some point in my career. Focus on getting as efficient, as good as possible, as fast as possible. So by the time the AI comes, you are already on the level that AI will not replace.
By the time T800 is knocking on your door, you'll be like, here's my code, bitch, go away. I'm better than you.
Exactly. Yeah,
Or
yeah.
you hack it and reprogram it
That's
as your
the idea.
personal
Before the
bodyguard.
T800 comes, you should be already so good that you can reprogram it to do stuff for you and not to kill you. I think that's where me and you are at least heading today.
Nice, nice. Yes, a useful skill to survive the AI
I mean, obviously,
apocalypse.
you watched Terminator 1 when he was fighting with Terminator with guns and, I don't know, lava and whatnot. And in Terminator 2, he just reprogrammed it. Which one do you want to choose?
Yeah, exactly. Programming is much
Yeah,
easier. So here's motivation for all
and
of
more
you
fun. Yeah,
who's
I
watching
mean, come on.
this.
You can do some stuff and something else happens on the other side of the globe. Millions of users are affected in some way, good or bad, up to what you're doing. But definitely you can have a big impact if you invest in your skills, in your knowledge, and you follow that path.
Okay, so you said you should become very good very
Mm-hmm.
fast, and that is kind of a broad statement. We all want to be as good and fast as possible. Like, what's the actionable approach that you think you can do to become as good as you can as fast as you can? Because obviously you will need to sacrifice certain things to get there, right? You cannot do
Yeah.
everything, so
Well,
you should choose what you do, where you focus on, how to spend your time
no, that's a
better.
great question, and we didn't talk about that. But sacrifice is a big part of it as well. Like in my case, I did sacrifice some things for some other over the years, but going back, I spent so many years. I wouldn't say wasting time, but having a lot of fun as well, and that didn't really uh, help in my career so much. So what you need to do if you want to do things as fast as possible is copy my path in those specific times of my career when I was doing this, and that is being dedicated to your work, producing something, having some output, having experience build up. And this is the crucial part, having somebody who is already better than you, and which is what you described as a mentor, that you can look up to and you can ask questions and they can guide you to grow to the next level. That's something I had just because my bosses at some time in my career were those people that I could learn from, even if they just don't want it, I'm still there learning and listening to what they are doing and picking up the cues slowly. And I remember also in some occasions, I worked for a company and they would actually hire a consultant to come and train us and mentor us on the. Back then, I remember once it was a Spring framework in Java in 2006. So we got a free training, which I thought like I would never pay for this. I'm glad the bank is paying for my training, but I'm. It's not that useful. I can learn all that by myself, which is true. But if you take a look at the time that it took me, and with those mentors that came, man, that was like incredible savings of time and increasing the speed of improvement.
So they saved you time. The reason you could have, basically what you said, I could have learned this by
Yeah,
myself, but they brought really good mentors and they sped up the process, and I benefited and the company benefited
yeah,
and everyone were happier and making more money.
exactly. Yeah, I wasn't aware of it at the time, to be honest, but now looking back, it definitely made a big impact back then. So I could jump really quickly. My salary went up, and I thought it was just a coincidence. The economy was growing, whatever. But no, I was actually, now looking back, I was having way better output very soon. And then I grew and I moved to another company, to another country, and I became a team lead over there. And this part of just a few months of mentoring had a huge impact, which would probably take me years if I were to do it on my own.
Yeah. Okay, so a question that is kind of within this topic. Do you think the most important thing a developer should focus on is getting results?
Well, okay. That's very generic. I guess anybody should get results. If you're a basketball player, you should get results. It's more about
I
which results you want to get.
Okay, let me make this more specific. A lot of when people go into process of getting hired, they basically try to show that they know how to do stuff. I know JavaScript, I know Python, I know to connect to APIs, I know this and that. But a business wants business results, right? You're going to get hired because you will make the business more money than it would make without you. So, at what point do you think a developer should show, hey, I can make you more money and I am efficient to get hired? Because let's be honest, I kind of get a feeling sometimes that a lot of junior developers think we live in some kind of communism. It's like, I know how to build a weather app, I deserve to be hired. I know some JavaScript, I deserve to be hired. And they don't understand why nobody's looking at their CV. And I personally think it's because nobody sees them as somebody that will make them more money, which is the basis of being hired. You're not getting hired to write code. Writing code is a way that you solve a business problem, is that how you improve the company that you have, and it's happens to be that it is done through code. You could have done this through sales, through marketing, through, I don't know, business development, business relationships, whatever. There are many tools to do that, and you're specifically getting hired to improve the business through code. At least this is my approach and why I try to have the people that I mentor to really become aware of the business
Yeah,
side.
that's a very good point. But I believe it's a bit next level than for junior engineers, although I would suggest to anybody to start going that route. And this is how I also apply to gigs on Upwork when I want to get a new client. You cannot just say, okay, I know Python and I know Node.js, and you listed that in your job description, and that's why I should apply, right? That's the minimum requirement, but there is so many other people that meet that requirement, and then it will be really up to luck that you are picked. So what you need to do is show how you specifically can help the business grow. So they want to pay you money for Node.js coding, but not just because of that. They're not passionate about the coding itself. They're passionate about their business. They're passionate about growing their marketing, growing their customer base, making their CRM more optimal, whatever it is. And if you can translate your technical skills into what they need as a business. And if you showcase, okay, when I do this and this and this, your stats will improve in this way, and not fake it, but really understand that you with your code will have such and such impact on their metrics that they care about, and you present it in that way, you have significantly higher chances of getting hired, because then there's not so many people who can do exactly that.
Yes, yes, I completely agree, and this is why I think today in the age of spamming CVs and everybody done the React Udemy course and all that, you need a way
Yeah.
to stand out.
And this,
And I was
by the way,
talking
this I
actually
didn't
to a
invent it
potential
myself.
client.
It's also something I got from somebody else who mentored me. I didn't come up with this idea. Okay, I'm a genius. I know how to apply to interviews. No, I also looked up to somebody else, and they explained a long time ago how this process works and why it makes sense. And that's why I can also help other engineers now, and that's why we have this program anyway. But it's again a new skill that is much easier acquired if you're not doing it alone.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yes, I wanted to say that there was this one woman who contacted me about coaching, and she basically said, I applied to this company and I failed the technical interview. I realized I wasn't at the level that I expected, and now I am building something that demonstrates exactly what they need. And out of all the people that I had this sales call, let's say, I think she has the highest chance of getting hired
Yeah, that's
because she applies to a specific company. She doesn't spam everyone. I know React.js, hire me. She shows that she can solve a specific business problem for a company that she wants to work for.
yeah, that's amazing. I mean, maybe she's going a bit too far. I wouldn't be building something for the company if they already failed you on the interview. Maybe I didn't get the specific case. Is she really doing it on her own?
Oh yeah, she failed one interview, and they told her that basically she's not at the level that they expect her to be. And I think that improving and trying to get to that level through doing the thing that this company specifically wanted, maybe she won't get hired again. Like, I don't know, but to me that sounds like a really smart strategy. It sounds to me like I want to prove that I can help you rather than, hey, I learned JavaScript, I deserve a job, hire me, please.
So yeah, there are two very good points. Well, one very good point and one maybe not so good point there.
Not so
Yeah,
good
so
point.
definitely you want to
Okay.
prove to yourself that you're good, and you want to find ways how to uh, present your skills in exactly that way. Now I can actually help this business in this and this way, not just I know JavaScript, but I know how to make your metrics go up. But another thing is,
Mhm.
going back to the same company. I think if you get rejected once, you should give up and wait some time until you have a new opening or something like that. But that skill that you are doing, I think it's very good. Practice for the next interview in another company that is very similar. So then you will not mess up. You will have much more confidence and you will have something to show off with. But going back to the same company that rejected you just now, that seems very unlikely to yield any results.
Why do you think so? Why do you think going back to a company that you failed an interview once, why you shouldn't be going there? Do you mean
No,
ever
not ever
again
again,
or
but
in like
not,
specific
yeah,
time frame?
specific time frame. And I would say, unless they told you a specific time, like we also, I was part of interviewing process in Upwork as well. We were hiring engineers, and I interviewed more than 50 people at one point, and we rejected some people like, okay, this guy has no chance of joining ever, and this guy is amazing, let's give him the best offer ever. And there were some people in between that we said, okay, he's close, but he's missing this and that. So if we hire him now, it will take us 6 months to train him, and so let him do that on his own and come back in 6 months. And that's what we tell him, like, okay, listen, man, you're good, but this part is missing. Like, this part you really need to get slightly better or much better. And if you feel that you can do it on your own, or find somebody else, pay a mentor, pay Dejan and Ilya to do that to help you get there in 6 months. Then come back in 6 months and we will interview you again, and you will probably join if you really get the thing under your belt. Um, but if the company doesn't say it directly like that, I think you need to give up on that position, get some experience in other companies. It's much more likely that you will get hired somewhere else than keep trying on the same company. Oh, now I learned. Yeah, but we didn't even want to try again with you. So it's very hard to convince people
Makes
after a few
sense.
months that you learned something that they rejected you in the first place.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So I have two
Mm-hmm.
questions. Um, well, actually, one is more of a statement, and I think it really depends on the hiring people because, to be honest, if I would interview someone and they wouldn't know what to do the specific thing, yeah, like you said, maybe they would be in the category of they're not ready at all. I'm not going to even look at it. But if they were in the second category of maybe, and that person would show me that they're really putting an effort, I think that would really impress me. I think I would say, like, yeah, I want somebody who's that driven, that really wants to work here, wants to work in my company, not in somebody else's company. Um, that sounds to me like a person I would want to invest in. Because that person wants to invest in my company, I would want to invest
That's
in
a
him.
good
I
point,
think this
but
can be,
wouldn't you
even
say
if they're
that
not
to
ready
her in
yet.
advance? Wouldn't you tell her, hey, listen, you're so good, but not as good as I need. So if you could fix this, or if you just need, you would tell her that in advance, right? On the feedback from the interview. You wouldn't tell her, hey, we are not happy with you, right?
Yes, probably. So it also depends on the feedback you
Yeah,
get. Yeah,
so
I
that's it.
agree.
The feedback might be the key differentiator here. What feedback she got after being rejected? Was that like hard no, you have no chance, don't, or was
I
it
don't know.
like
Uh,
this soft no, like okay, we are looking at other candidates, you're good, but maybe come. Normally, they would tell you come back in 6 months or whatever
okay.
timeline.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, but that's a good point. So then my other question is, what made the first category, or maybe the last category, the ones that you said, oh yeah, definitely we want to hire those. What put a person in that category?
Ooh, well, there are so many aspects that we interviewed at Upwork because we became kind of serious interviewing after I joined, and there were some other more senior people joined the company. They kind of ramped up the interviewing levels so much that we wanted to get people who are technically skilled. Okay, that was no brainer. Everybody had to know at least the technologies that we were working with. It was backend, it was Java and all the frameworks that we were using. Front end was some other technologies, and they need to excel in those. Then we also wanted to see how they would fit with other people in the team, how their communication skills are. Something that a lot of engineers are lacking this well for forever, I would say, not now only, but forever they were lacking. And yeah, I was lacking as well when I started. I don't want to lie about that. Um, so communication skills, and finally,
We all saw the photo that you put on LinkedIn
yeah,
of being a nerd in front of your
yeah,
keyboard.
that's all I knew how to do. And then final thing is about Upwork itself. Why do they want to work for us and not for somebody else? Because maybe they meet the technical
Yeah.
requirements, maybe they also good communicator, but why do they want to work with us? Do they know what the company is about? Do they know about our mission, our priorities, our culture in general? And if they're just applying to 10 different jobs without and randomly applying and nailing the technical part, it's very likely that they will not stay for a long time because maybe somebody will give them 100 euros more per month, and why wouldn't they go to something else? So we want them to be aligned.
And why would they
Why
actually?
would they?
So, yeah, like why would somebody want to specifically work at
Mm-hmm.
Upwork? What kind of reasons? Um, And I'm asking that there is a bit of snarkiness in that question because there is this whole cover letter thing. I didn't have, luckily, so luckily, I never had to go through it because when I got hired in Israel like 15, 10 years ago, I don't think the concept of cover letter
Yeah,
even
yeah, yeah.
exists in
Back then,
Israel.
no,
They
yeah,
just look
yeah,
at who
yeah.
you are, but now you have to like, you are the most amazing company. Want to come and work for you. Yes, because you are so good. And I don't know. I can imagine that you would want that there are specific companies that you want to do that thing that they do. I don't know, like go work on Amazon on AWS because it's like so low level infrastructure. It's like everything's built upon it. If you want to specialize in that, then you want to do this. Um, so, like, what reasons do people give you why they want to work in Upwork, and how believable they were? How do you even this differentiate that they were not just some made up cover letters? They didn't have ChatGPT back then, so I don't know. They
So
had to come up
cover
with
letter, I
something
have
that
to
would
be
sound
honest, is not
convincing.
so important as it is important when you talk to person or live or this one. Then you can really see if they. I mean, they can write even without ChatGPT. They can write amazing cover letters, and it's become kind of a standard already. So it's not easy to see who is lying, who is not, who is putting a lot of effort, who is asking her sister to do it for him. I don't know. But when you talk to a person like this, then you can feel more about why they want to join, and is it only, oh, I just want to do some work and get some money. And basically we wanted people who are,
Passionate about.
yeah, you don't have to be passionate so much
Uh,
like our CEO is. She was really passionate about this, but you need to be at least,
I wanted to say I'm passionate about not starving to death.
yeah, that's not good enough. I mean, I'm sure you are, and I'm as well. I'm on the same team, but we need something more. So, just the fact that you came to the interview and you researched a bit what Upwork is about, what is the platform business model. Upwork is just a word, Upwork. Nobody knows what it means. The word itself doesn't tell you the business. So you need to go on the platform, maybe create an account and see what it works, what it is like. And if you had done that, if you have noticed some things, okay, I would like this to be better, I would like this to be different. As a client, as a freelancer, I want this to be more accessible. Then you will be able to provide more value when you work actually. You will not be just simply executing tasks that people are giving you, but you will have
Right,
some
right.
wider knowledge. Okay, I'm executing this because it will fit there and it will improve this, and you will care a bit more about your output, and then we care as well because we want that to be part of our team and we want to grow our business. That's how things work.
Yeah. Would you hire someone that would come to you and say, "Hey, your chat feature sucks. Like, I use your chat feature, it sucks balls, and I want to make it different."
Okay, that's a great starter, but then I would definitely ask, how would you make it different? What would you change? And then if they say like, well, I just hate it, I would say, okay, well, thank you for that. We can find haters anywhere.
Thank you for your honest feedback.
We can find those haters anywhere. I could just make a YouTube video. I'll get thousands of hater comments. Doesn't matter. So I want somebody who is having a constructive feedback. Let's put it that way. Famous words. Constructive feedback is something that would be much more appreciated than just shitting all over our products.
Yeah. But if somebody has a constructive feedback that is real, that is based on something, and has suggestions of how to improve that, that is definitely something that can put that person to get that person noticed
That,
in the hiring
that's
process.
another statement. That's something that would put them like in the top 1% of people who will have a chance of getting hired.
That is really
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I mean, obviously, technical skills are still the barrier that you need to pass. But once you pass that barrier, you will encounter so many other people who have passed it. And then what you said is what gets you to the top 1%.
This is really important statement. Like, you master the basics, and then after you master the basics, then the real competition
Yeah,
begins.
exactly. That's a good way to put it. Because before that, it's like, I don't know, you need to play a basketball game. Well, first you need to show up to the court. If you just don't walk to the court in the first place, nothing later will come. Okay, but that's not the end of it. You walk to the court, and if you just stand there, there's no point in playing the game. You need to put extra effort after you've came to the court.
Exactly. And I want to say something about this extra effort, and this is something that I've been noticing a lot. I think you need to really want it to put the extra effort, because a lot of people, they're like, yeah, it would be nice to be a developer. I have a lot of these calls for people reaching out. It's like, yeah, I think I want to be a developer, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it will be a higher pay. And if you want to make money, there are much easier ways than becoming a software developer.
Yeah, that's what I
Like,
would ask
I
them right
don't
away.
tend to.
Is that your only motivation? Is that what you just said? I want to make a bit more money. If that's your only motivation, either find other motivations or other jobs, because it's a highly competitive market nowadays. And there
Exactly.
are people who have that motivation plus 10 others, and they will be in front of you always.
Yeah. So try to become a software developer if becoming a software developer is really what you want. And also understand that to get hired, it's not as much about your craft and how nicely you can make an API call or a recursive function. It's about how well you can use it in a bigger context. And I think this is a much more important skill to learn. So if you're learning to code, you need to approach it as problem solving. You need to the skill that comes after the basics, after knowing how to write a function, a loop, an array, a recursive call, is really how do I take those and make something work from scratch with those things.
Yeah.
And you can't even get to that level, I think, if you don't really want it, because you cannot, all these Upwork, sorry, not Upwork, all these Udemy and Coursera courses that sell you 100 hours of JavaScript, and you just sit there and watch 100 hours of JavaScript. What have you done with those 100 hours of JavaScript? Like, it's nice to watch something to get the basics, but you really have to sit down and do stuff from scratch and practice it again and again. And this only to get to the level playing field. From there, you have to get
Yeah,
creative of how get to get
that's
people's attention
just
to get
basically getting
hired.
to the court, and then you play the game. Then the real
Yeah.
effort starts. Yeah.
It sounds like we're selling don't get into tech. Let's call it the don't get into tech
Yeah,
podcast.
exactly. Why did you get into tech, Ilya? Can I ask you that?
Um, yeah, so my path was really not straightforward. I think I was making a blog for myself, and I realized that, like, I was 25, 24. I realized that while doing it, I learned some useful skills. And back then, if you knew some JavaScript, CSS, and HTML, basically, it wasn't that hard to get hired. And there were higher salaries. I mean, it was basically the most profitable thing I could have done at the
So you
moment.
were doing exactly what we are
But
advising people not to do now. Yes,
yes,
because it was
yes,
different
yes.
time,
Most of.
right?
Mhm. Yeah, and it wasn't even that great of a choice. I'll tell you in a second why. But yeah, I am a lot of the stuff that I am now helping people with came from bad experiences that I had and learning how to handle those. Yeah, I've done a long path that wasn't so good, wasn't so enjoyable. I saw a lot of things that don't work. I failed at a lot of things. That's one way to gain knowledge and wisdom. So,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, you know what
yeah.
they say.
So I
You
got
can
into
either learn from your mistakes or pay other people to learn from their mistakes.
yes, now I know that. And um, one of the things that I want to do, I didn't have any mentor back then. I didn't have anyone. Even when I got into startup companies, there was nobody who was actually mentoring me. Even my team leads were like, yeah, do this stuff and, figure it out. And it wasn't even like some companies I worked were like, startups that had zero money. They just wanted to get a product out as fast as they could, and it makes sense that they were behaving this way. But even the better companies I worked at still didn't give me a lot of attention and mentoring. And part of what I'm doing is helping people. Like, I want to be the person that I didn't have.
Yeah.
I want to show people this is not how it's supposed to be. You can, first of all, work in better places. You don't have to adhere to what some people expect of you just because you got hired and you're a software developer. A lot of the expectations actually are not based on anything real. And I didn't enjoy my time as a software developer. So here's even another thing. Again, the Don't Get Hired podcast, because I found my place as a mentor. And if my technical knowledge was based on something else, maybe like photography or design or something else, I might have been doing the same thing I'm doing now, helping people get out of the pitfalls of becoming good at what they do in a different area. But I wouldn't go back now to a 9 to 5 job. I really did not enjoy my time doing that for various reasons. But it did put me through all this experience that I can use now to help
Okay, so
others.
you're more like a coach. You're showing them how to not go your path and find their own path. While I'm more like, yeah, if you like my path, come and join me and do what I did, but in a much
Exactly.
faster way because I had only few fractions of my career where I had the mentors that I kind of value nowadays. But if I had it just stacked in one beginning of my career in a couple of years, I would be already, I don't know, 10 years ago, I would be where I am now, probably.
Nice.
So, what do you think has changed? Why is it so different now than 15 years ago when you got hired, when I got hired 20 years ago for the first time?
I think 15 years ago, coding was something that nerds that went to the university did.
Okay, so
The whole upstart, self-taught developer that builds their own startup or whatever, it's relatively new concept. Even 20 years ago, there were almost no self-taught developers. There were no boot camps. There was no Udemy. There were no there was no Upwork, so you can just quickly hire a freelancer to get some job done. Like, the market was completely different, and now it's also way more accessible. There is so much information. There is everything you want to know is available. Like, there isn't anything technical that you would ever want to learn that you can't find now on YouTube or on some website that will teach you that.
yeah, yeah.
And still people have challenges with that, so the lack of technical knowledge is not what is stopping people.
Yeah, I think that's the
And
big
15 years
difference.
ago it was harder.
Yeah, yeah. I believe that's one of the big
It was
difference.
harder to
Yeah,
find the
yeah. People are
knowledge.
so scared about AI and all that taking our jobs, but look what happened just with internet. And exactly as you said, like everything technically that you need to solve is available out there. So anybody, your grandma, can find it equally as you. Just she doesn't have the skill of applying that in the real life. Even though it's equally accessible to her and to you, she probably has the same Wi-Fi as you. But why is she not getting hired? And
Yeah,
that's what makes the difference now. Back then, like 20 years ago, when internet was not so popular, you didn't have Stack Overflow, or you had it just starting, and you had to actually know everything yourself, or at least 80% of the topics. Then you could just really, okay, I learned this, and now I'm already better than 99% of population. Nowadays,
exactly.
you need to be better at different things, not at knowing the stuff, because everybody can know it. Anybody has access to this technical knowledge.
Yeah,
That's why,
this
yeah, I
makes
would.
me feel very old.
Yeah, me too. But that's progress. You have to live with it. Like this first part of the game, now there is so many players, and you're competing with so many people, and then you need to do the bare minimum to get on that basic level. But then to get hired, you need something extra, which before we didn't need. Me and you, maybe we were lucky, maybe unlucky. I don't know. Now it's more challenging, but also I would say more rewarding.
Yeah, I think so too. And the base level also got much wider because you have people from all over the world, from countries with very low income that
Mm,
compete with you for the same job,
yeah,
and somebody that can live on $2 a day can work for $2 a day and do the exact same job because they have access to the exact same internet.
yeah. That's the COVID leftovers or kind of consequences of remote work. Now, I think I read some stat for each remote role that is published online, you get more than 3,000 applicants that match the technical skills. So that's the people you're competing against.
Sound wow. Sounds like being a girl on Tinder.
Maybe it's the opposite. I don't know. Maybe the company is the girl on Tinder. Yes, true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Hot girl
So,
on
so
Tinder. Yeah,
like being a guy on
yeah.
Tinder.
And you are like a
Not even that hot.
yeah, you're like a guy on Tinder. Yeah, you have to do something extra if you want to get noticed. Yeah.
Yep. So, on this very pessimistic note, we're going for already 46 minutes. I think it's a wrap for today.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
So let's just add the small sales pitch. And if you survive these 46 minutes, I'm pretty sure you already know what is it that we do. And if you want to really level up your playing skills, you should talk to us and schedule a free call with us and see if we can help you to get the job that you want and get the skills that you need to get the job. And everything will be in the description below and on our LinkedIn and all of the social media that we will soon have.
Yes.